let's go.
About another 40 seconds. Five seconds. There we go.
Welcome to the Black Male Podcast. This is a space where we delve deep into the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of black men in today's society. I'm your host, Mike Sears, and each and every week, I'll bring you inspiring stories, insightful discussions, actionable advice tailored specifically for black men looking to navigate and excel in all facets of life. As black males, you've seen us at our worst. We have literally been on display in front of the world. It's my hope that this platform will allow the world to also see black men at their best. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's episode of the Black Male Podcast. Today on Mike's monologue, I want to talk about freedom. Today's episode is simply titled Freedom. You belong here. As many of you know and have already been participating in various celebrations, and I've seen, several posts throughout the day on different social media formats. Today is Juneteenth. Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday commemorating the end of slavery in the United States. Here's a brief history of Juneteenth, its origins. First, the Emancipation Proclamation, which happened through President Abraham Lincoln. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, declaring that all enslaved people in Confederate states were to be set free. However, enforcement of the proclamation generally depended on the presence of Union troops, and many areas in the South remained under Confederate control. Galveston, Texas, on June 19th, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with 2,000 federal troops to take control of the state and enforce the emancipation of its enslaved people. General Granger publicly read General Order Number 3, which announced the total emancipation of slaves. This order informed the people of Texas that all enslaved people were now free. Over 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. Celebrations and recognitions. Initial celebrations, they started first. Celebrations of Juneteenth began in Texas, 1866. The Freedom and Free Women celebrated with prayer, meetings, the signing of spirituals, and wearing new clothes to represent their newfound freedom. Spreading traditions. As African Americans migrated out of Texas, they carried the Juneteenth celebrations with them, spreading the traditions across the United States. Modern day observations. Juneteenth has evolved into a day of celebrations that include parades, family gatherings, festivals, educational events, and memorials. It is time for reflection, rejoicing, and promoting African American culture and heritage. Its legal recognition. State recognition. Texas was the first state to make Juneteenth an official state holiday in 1980. Over the years, most other states have followed suit, recognizing the day as a state holiday or special day of observance. It became a federal holiday on June 17th, 2021, as
Emancipation
President
of the
Joe
Virgin
Biden
Islands.
signed Juneteenth, National Independence Day Act into law, making Juneteenth a federal
Hey, lady.
holiday. This marked a significant milestone
Yeah,
in
I'm on. He's
recognizing
doing his
the
thing right now.
historical and cultural importance of the
All right,
day.
bye.
Its significance. Juneteenth represents a crucial moment in American history, the end of slavery in the United States. It serves as a reminder of the struggle for freedom and the equality, and is a time to honor the resilience and contributions of African Americans to the nation. In addition to understanding Juneteenth and the freedom that it represents, I also want you to recognize and realize that you belong here. No matter what you think, no matter what anyone has told you, we are all here for a specific purpose, for a specific time such as this. And I want to read something to you real briefly and simply put. In the book of Ecclesiastes, I'm reading from the Bible, chapter 3, verse 1. This is the Amplified Version. It simply says, there is a season, a time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight and event or purpose under heaven. To everything there is a season and a time for everything that's been created. That means you're here, you belong here. God wants you to enjoy your life. He made you so your life would be meaningful. Not only did he breathe life into your body, but he created you with a specific purpose in mind. No one knows your purpose like God does, and your purpose is connected to God. Your purpose is relative to time. It has a timeline, and timing is important in every execution of your purpose. Your life matters. Your life is important, and your life has purpose. When you know your purpose, it will guide you through life to get you where you need to be and reroute you when circumstances come up like detours. Purpose is a powerful thing. And remember, you belong here. You're free, and you're also free to know that you have freedom in your purpose to execute it to the full extent of the law. Be who you're supposed to be, and don't get caught doing anything other than that. Keep that in mind. Today, I have another special guest as we continue in the celebrations of this special edition of the Black Male Podcast, as we're talking about Juneteenth. And that's not going to be our total conversation, but there's no way to let this day go by. It's just as important as any other holiday that we celebrate throughout the calendar year, because it's a point in time in our history, in American history, where again, all slaves became free. Today's guest, he's no stranger to the show. He's been here before, and we indulged in some pretty lengthy conversation, and we wasn't able to get through everything and all that we would have liked to. So he is back again today. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Chris G. Hey, my brother.
Good night. Good night. How you doing, Mike? How you doing?
I'm well. Good to have you back. Good to have you back. How's your day been so far?
My brother, every day above ground is a great day. I have no complaints. You know, there's people out there that didn't wake up this morning, you know,
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
a firm believer in complaining, not complaining about the things that you had or the things you don't have, but appreciate what you do have.
It is truly a blessing. It is truly a blessing to have that type of perspective. We can always find something that's wrong, but it takes a little bit more effort to find something that's right and to make things right and to work and to continue to grow, continue to learn. So I'm extremely happy for those opportunities as well. Great to have you back again, and definitely want to pick up the conversation kind of where we left off this month. we've been talking a little bit about celebrating our graduates. As you know, June is a month for a lot of graduations, whatever grade level young people are being promoted at, especially our young men. It's important to push them forward. And I definitely throughout our conversation want to be able to speak to some of the things that you're doing, some of the things that needs to happen, so our young people, especially our young men, can continue to flourish in the freedom that they have as they continue to learn and understand their purpose. Now, you work with young people as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And what are some of the programs, some of the things that you have going?
So, first of all, I would like to thank you for allowing me to be back on your show. You and your producer, it's being able to have that platform to be able to share our message.
Absolutely.
Always giving thanks to God,
Yes, sir.
family, and friends, everybody that supported and believed in our dreams.
Yes.
My manager, Lady LaDonna, and my
Mm-hmm.
management team at Bridgepoint Media have been very essential in making sure that they're helping me to get this message across that we're trying to get. So right now, we have several different platforms that we're working on, several different events. We have this one platform that we're currently working on. It's called Four Men and a Pen. And I'm sure you'll hear much more about that here within the next pen platform. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, I was just about to ask you to expound on that a little more.
Sure. So the Four Men and a Pen platform is basically experiences, life experiences, stored opinions, information from different perspectives, four different men who have come from four different points in their life, who have achieved success in different avenues, who are willing to share their stories to help encourage the future to be able to achieve what they're trying to get accomplished.
Nice. That's important. We see a lot of individuals accomplish success, but don't always get to hear their journey. I've always been intrigued by hearing about the journey, because I think it's the journey that makes or breaks us a lot of times, as well as true success is a continual journey. Even when you reach a certain level, that's not the end. When even when you reach the top of a certain pinnacle of success, you still want to go higher. And so, can you talk about that a little bit in terms of how you personally achieved a certain level of success, but yet you're still acquiring or aspiring to do more?
So it's funny that you say that. I have twin sons. I have four sons.
Wow.
But
Okay.
my twin sons, they're both 15. I have a 20-year-old, and my oldest son, who's no longer with us, would have been 35.
Wow.
My 15-year-old and I were in the backyard one day, and we were just kind of having a casual conversation. And he looked at me and he says, "Well, Dad, how do you know when you've accomplished a mission?" And he stunned me for a minute, because that was a very deep question to have from a 15-year-old. And I thought about it for a few seconds, and I told him, "Well, you have to know what your mission is first in order for you to accomplish it."
Yeah.
And that was my biggest problem in life. At an early age, my life had been a series of survival. And when you're in survival mode, you can't really see beyond that moment. All you see is what's in front of you at that time.
Absolutely.
So depending on what your circumstance is going to determine what your mission is at that time. So for me, originally, my mission was survival.
Yeah.
I used to ask God continuously to allow me to get to a point in life where I can no longer need for anything. I just want to not have to want for anything.
Right.
And my mentality at that point was the way that it was, because at a very early age, I had to depend on myself. I didn't have role models. I didn't have people in my life to give me the support that we have available to our younger generation now. So I went from a mindset of survival to when I've got to a point where I no longer have to worry about the things that some people have to worry about. Like I don't have to worry about a roof over my head. I don't
Right.
have to worry about food in my stomach or clothes on my children's back. But when I've got to that point, I realized that I need more than that. I have a bigger purpose in life.
Hmm.
So if you don't know what your purpose is, it is hard for you to find the satisfaction of achieving that. So that would be the biggest thing, is finding your purpose.
Absolutely. Let me pause for 1 second. I just need to check something technical real quick.
Yes, sir.
Anything?
Yeah, we live. From everything that I see, we're live.
All right, we just checking. Um, some people are saying they can't see anything, so we definitely want to make sure y'all are part of this conversation because we here. We are definitely here. We are going, and I don't want y'all to miss this. Purpose is so key, Chris, and I'm happy you talked about that because, like you said, at different places and points in our life, our purpose shifts. It changes. You know, there are times when a lot of us, I think, as black males, depending on the environment and the communities that we grew up in, we
Might be the weather.
we experience survival mode. Even as we grow and learn, we're primarily taught to be employees as opposed to employers and or owning and having our own business. And we don't if we don't have those types of examples, or we're not able to be in that type of environment, we don't know how to shift our mindset. And that's another important thing, especially as young people, understanding that growth is about shifting your mindset. If you are always if you're the same person at 18 and you haven't changed by the time you reach 25, then there's a problem. If at 35, if at 40 or 50, you're still thinking the way that you did when you were, again, a child, then there's something wrong. You haven't grown. And no matter where you are, it's important for growth. You have to continue to, you got to continue to grow. It's extremely,
Absolutely.
it's extremely important. Yeah, it is. It's just so important. Man, can you just touch a little bit on a pivotal moment in your life that you would say significantly shaped your identity as a black man?
Absolutely. Um, I would go so far back to say it's when I first became a father. Because when you
Yeah.
go from being a young man with no father figure who's thrown out into a world where you're forced to fend for yourself, you go through, as you said earlier, different stages in your life. So you go from survival mode.
Hmm.
When I got out of my mom's house and I was able to be off on my own for the very first time, I ended up becoming a father at a really young age.
Okay.
So I went from being a child with issues
Mm.
to being a father who didn't know how to be a father, had
Right.
no example on what a father even looked like.
Right.
So I had to learn my lesson by making a lot of mistakes, which unfortunately my son had to suffer. My oldest son suffered with me through some of those mistakes because I had no idea what I was doing.
Sure.
As you transition from that pivotal stage to being a child to a parent and a provider,
Hmm.
then you're forced to mature because of the experiences that life shows you. So I think the pivotal moment for me was realizing that my life was no longer about me. It
Yeah.
was not about me at all. Once you bring another life into this world, that is your responsibility. Whether you wanted to admit to it or not, whether you stand up to it or not,
Yeah.
it is every one of our responsibility to take care of what we brought into this world.
Yeah.
So that was the most important moment of my life where I had to decide what my priorities were.
Yeah. And that's key, Chris, because unfortunately, there's so many of us that don't make that switch. We continue in the somewhat being immature and selfish. There's a lot of people that are selfish. They're more concerned about themselves because some for very obvious reasons, and then some, unfortunately, when you haven't had much, growing up, and you finally get something, you want to keep it to yourself, whatever level of success it is. And so it's hard to realize how important to understand your blessings are not for you. Like, you're not giving opportunities, you're not giving blessings. Even your purpose is not for you. The way the universe works, the way the planet works, we're all, the way I see it, and this is just my perspective, we're all pieces to a puzzle, and we all fit neatly and nicely into this bigger picture, and all of us are different, but every piece is significant. Every piece is necessary to complete the picture. And when you are, and without your piece, the picture is incomplete. Like, if I'm out of place, if I'm out of pocket, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, if I'm not giving the way that I'm supposed to give, then somebody within that bigger picture is missing out. And we can't be so selfish. And I've had to learn, we can't be so selfish with our gifts and our talents to think that it's for us and just for us. And fortunately for you, being a father at a young age and not having had a father, you didn't allow that to be an excuse or a reason, shall I say, a more positive term, for you to not be present, for you to not attempt to make this thing work. And life is a lot of that. Life is a lot about making the attempt. Like, some things, if we don't try, it's just not gonna happen. And we have to be willing to at least try. We have to be willing to at least, as you stated yourself, you made some mistakes, but the man you were then is definitely not the man you are now, because you stuck with it, because you stayed, because you continued, because you didn't just fall, but you got back up. And every time you got back up more times than you fail. And that's so important. And I appreciate you for that.
Oh, absolutely. And I appreciate you, my brother. You said some really positive things, and some things that it actually kind of spawned certain memories. There are a lot of people in this world that use their shortcomings as an excuse for their downfall. And we have to take accountability for our actions and what it is that our responsibilities are. So, like you said, I made a lot of mistakes because I didn't have the right image, but I knew what I didn't want for my sons.
Right.
And I knew what I lacked and what I needed. So everything that I needed, I gave to them tenfold. And sometimes it made me a little bit of a helicopter dad. Like, I hovered a lot. I was in their life all the time. I was there when they were born. I cut the umbilical cords.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when my oldest one passed, I was there from the cradle to the grave as well.
Yeah.
But the fact of it is they knew, and they know throughout every aspect of their life what kind of a father I am, what I stand on, and I'm a man of my word. And my responsibility goes to them first and foremost.
Yeah, I'm happy to have this conversation, simply because I think for men, unfortunately, the way society is set up, the way family environment is set up and structured, we're positioned to where we think we have to be perfect. And perfect is not doing everything right. Perfect sometimes is just simply perfect practice. And that's something that I learned earlier on, that there's no such thing as being perfect, but there is a thing of having a perfect practice. In other words, creating your character, setting up a routine, deciding to have some discipline, deciding that I'm gonna keep trying, I'm gonna keep working, I'm gonna keep growing, I'm just gonna keep applying myself until I get to the place to where the progress happens, or the breakthrough happens, or the change happens. And we never really achieve success at any level if we're not willing to fail, if we're not willing to not be perfect, to make the mistakes, but to learn from them and then keep going. I think it's important for especially our young people that's graduating, that's will be graduating soon. Whatever the case is, understand that it's okay to not get it right the first time. It's okay to not get it right the second time. But what is not okay to do is to not give yourself a third or a fourth or a fifth time. I've heard so many stories where success, I believe there's a cleaning solution. I think it's called, I could be wrong. The number is probably wrong. It's like 702 or 404 or something. 409. The producer's telling me, and it's
yeah, that sounds right.
It's equivalent to the number of times that the inventor, the person producing that, failed. So I believe they failed 408 times, and it was the 409th time that it was actually successful. And so I say that in volume of, man, you never know how many times it's going to take, how many no's you may receive, how many failures that may come across your life. And it can be very discouraging. It can be very depleting, even. But I'm hoping that through this conversation, people that's listening, you realize, hey, it is not the end of the world if you keep going. As long as there's breath in your body, every day you wake up, there's an opportunity to do it again. And man, if we can just do it again, that next time, that might be it.
There's no failure until you quit trying.
Man.
As long as you're trying, there's no failure.
Man. Since we're talking about that, and you kind of touched on it before, but in terms of success, how would you define it, and what are some of the ways, in terms of your definition, has it evolved over time? You kind of touched on it at the beginning, but can you dive a little bit deeper into success, and then again the evolution of success over time? And I want to preface this. I think for a lot of young people, I know when I was 18, 17, there was something that I saw in a picture in my mind that I felt that it was success. And most young people, even if you talk to them now, it's all about getting paid. How can I make money? I want money. And so even when they're attempting to choose a major in college, it's what's going to make me the most money. And they don't necessarily realize that chasing money is not going to bring you the levels of success that you really want. But initially, that's what you think success is, making a lot of money. But that's my take on it. Let me hear what you have to say about that.
So, as you stated earlier, success takes on different looks depending on where you're at that time. So success originally might be a monetary gain. Mm-hmm. But for me, it came to a point when the monetary needs were met and you started realizing that you still hadn't fulfilled your purpose. When you wake up and you still feel empty and you still feel like, what am I doing? Yeah. At that point, you have to start changing your outlook. Mm-hmm. For me, success for me is when I'm able to help as many people as I can to be in a better place, to live a better life, to be better and do better than they have been doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's deep, and it's very different. And I think young people need to hear this message again, because it takes you time to get to that place. Because again, you're looking at your friends, you're looking at things on TV or social media, and you're looking at what other people have, and you think, and you feel like this is what I want until, like you said, you get certain levels of financial success, or you have, some financial stability, or you have a child, or another significant life event happens. Somebody close to you passes away. When you get to a place where you realize there are certain things that money alone can't buy, you start to search a little bit deeper within and find that thing that we talked about at the beginning called purpose. Because literally that's our driving point. That's what allows us to really to really make a difference in life. Steve Jobs, who I didn't know, and this is years ago, who I didn't know anything about till I, started studying. It might have come through school or just me having a certain level of interest, but realizing here's a person who was the creator of Apple. It was his invention. Him and another person. It started in a garage. He got to a point to where he was fired from being the executive of his own company. Started another company, which was Pixar. And all these companies still exist to the day. And at some point, Apple decided it needed to hire him back, which they ended up doing. But and so I say this to say he didn't only have success; he had significant amounts of success, significant levels of money and wealth. But when he was sick and dying, his perspective changed in terms of who he was and his purpose and his beliefs and what was most important and more important when you're going through that transition, because you realize all the money in the world, and I believe this is, and I'm not completely quoting him, but to a certain extent, I heard him say, all the more money in the world he couldn't pay to get his health back. He couldn't pay to live out his life any longer because, again, the sickness had overtaken him. And when you live through those types of scenarios, not necessarily having to be on your deathbed, but when you realize that money can't buy you love, or can't buy you life, or can't extend your life, or even if it's not you, even if it's a loved one, when you experience those things, you look at life a whole different type of way, and you realize that a purpose-driven life is a life that's more fulfilled. And the only reason why I'm spending this amount of time on talking about this is that I'm hoping somebody that's a little bit younger than you and I will realize before they get to our age, or before they're nearing the end of their life, or on their deathbed, and they realize, man, I should have, or I could have been doing more to fulfill my purpose. I could have been doing more to help somebody else. I could have been doing more to just provide a better way, instead of hoarding all that I have, whether it's information, whether it's resources, whether it's whatever it is. We have a responsibility when we're blessed, when we're successful, to give back. And again, that's what this platform is about. As we continue to talk, as we continue to discuss, it's all about those that are listening being able to give them some things that will allow them to reach a certain level of success, will allow them to go from where they are now to where they want to be in life, because people like you, because people like me, they can see and reach out to us and say, hey, I'm in trouble, I need some help, can you help me? And we're able to give them, that sort of direction. Before we go on break, I want to know if this is also Men's Mental Health Month. And with regards to that, mental health, as I believe, is a very crucial topic in all communities. How do you approach? Is there, or do you have any particular way that you approach mental health? And do you think that it's important to have an open discussion about it, especially amongst Black men?
Absolutely. It is definitely something that a lot of us don't get together and talk about because of the stigma that comes behind mental health. Everybody thinks when they talk about mental health, oh, you got to be crazy to sit down and talk to somebody.
Right.
There's a few brothers that I have started to encounter in life that very powerful brothers. For instance, you have Dr. Tim Abrams. He's the new executive director of the Police Athletic League for the entire South Fulton County here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice.
He and I have had numerous conversations about the younger generation and the status of their mental health. And he's putting forth a bunch of programs to try to help address that so that way we can kind of get them a little bit more active, because it does start with trying to get these kids off of these video games at some point for a few hours at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
There's another brother who's on the panel with me as well. He's also part of the 4 Men in a Pen platform, Dr. Maurice. Dr. Maurice Lee is very well spoken in the aspects of dealing with a lot of these issues as well, because he's been around for a long time and we've had a lot of conversations back and forth.
Yes.
So when it comes to mental health, it is definitely something that is a little bit taboo, but I feel that more people are coming out about it because there's so many people that are suffering from it. So it is very important that we have a peer network, someone that you feel comfortable that you can share information with in confidence, even if it's someone that's outside of your comfort zone. It just has to be somebody that's willing to listen and be non-biased and still sensitive and empathetic to your situation.
Absolutely. People don't realize even physically, medically, our brain is considered, it's a muscle. And it has to be conditioned. It has to be, it needs nutrients, it needs exercise, it needs rest, it needs a break. And, we deal with, and we see so much in life through our ear gates, through our eye gates, that create experiences for us that we hurt from, and we never have opportunity to heal. And sometimes we don't even realize we need to heal. And it's so critically important.
Indeed. The book that I'm working on right now, even though it's not titled yet, it kind of has a little bit of an impromptu title, but the book is basically, in its sense, therapeutic for me, in a sense, and it's also designed to be therapy for other people that are having some issues, similar issues, that feel like they're going through it by themselves. So this book, once it hits the market, should be something that a lot of people are going to want to pick up and read, because even if you don't feel comfortable outwardly expressing your issues to someone else, if you read something that touched the nerve and it made you feel a little bit of a conviction, that's enough to start the dialogue open with somebody. As long as you can get before somebody and be able to share, that's what's important.
It is. And we have to continue to have these conversations around these issues just so we can be better as men, be better as a community. I still believe in men being leaders, and that's no slight on women. Women are, we're walking hand in hand, side by side. We need our women, but our women need us as men to be
Absolutely.
men, to step up, to take care of our mental health, to take care of all,
and be accountable.
To take care of all aspects of our health, because we need to be around longer so we can see our children grow, so we can continue to be leaders in our household. So it's just extremely important. The world needs to see us. They need to see us more, and they also need to see us healthy, and doing things positive and healthy. With that being said, I'm going to take a brief break, and it will be brief, but I want to acknowledge today's sponsors and talk a little bit more about men's mental health. Today's show is brought to you by Mike Sears Productions. Mike Sears Productions, expert production, project, and production management for your next show. Visit us at MikeSearsProductions.com. Also, you can visit the IG page, Mike Sears Productions, or give us a call at 313-422-3347 to learn more about our services and how we can make your next event unforgettable. Also, today's show is brought to you by Mike Sears University. Elevate your skills at Mike Sears University. Education that inspires you to be the best you can be. More information is coming at a much later time. If you are interested in me, please email us at theblackmailpodcast @gmail.com, and you'll be provided with more information. We'd love to promote your business and or event on this show. June is also Men's Mental Health Month, and here are some helpful tips. 1. Engage in hobbies and activities you enjoy. Pursue interests. Make time for activities and hobbies that bring you joy and relaxation. Communicate openly. Express your emotions. Don't bottle up your feelings. Find healthy ways to express your emotions, whether through talking, writing, or creative outlets. Educate yourself and others. Learn about mental health. Educate yourself about mental health to reduce the stigma and encourage open discussions. Raise awareness. When you get the information, share the information and the resources with others to promote mental health awareness. Consider therapy. Please talk to a therapist. This is a trained professional. Regular sessions with a therapist can provide valuable insights and coping strategies. Again, I say a trained professional because they're trained to see and recognize certain things that you have no idea exist, and then they can give you a diagnosis and antidotes to be able to deal with that. Also, cognitive behavior therapy. This type of therapy can help you identify and change negative thoughts and patterns. Two more things. Balance work and life. Set boundaries. Ensure you're maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Set boundaries to protect your personal time. Take breaks. Regular breaks during work can help reduce stress and improve productivity. Lastly, volunteer and give back. Helping others, volunteering can boost your mood and give you a sense of purpose. By incorporating these tips into your daily life, you can improve your mental health and well-being. Remember, it's important to take care of yourself and seek help when needed. All right, back to our guests. Welcome back to the Black Male Podcast, Mr. Chris G.
Thank you. So listening to what you were saying, in addition to that, I think one of the biggest things is they have to be honest with themselves as well as their therapist, because a lot of people aren't going to ever solve their problems if they're hiding from it and they're not honest enough to confront what the issue is. Absolutely.
And it has to be a safe space. I think, as males, a lot of us, we walk in, if we decide to finally go into an office to see a therapist, whether it's in a physical office, and they even have telehealth care now where you can actually, do things digitally or virtually, which is also, again, trying to tear down some of those barriers. But you already walk in feeling defensive, like you're going to be judged, or you feel like you got to, again, defend yourself. And it has to be a safe space. You have to feel like it's okay to be vulnerable. Like you said, like it's okay to tell the truth, like it's okay to be honest. And if you have a good therapist, that's the type of environment that they'll create for you, and it will allow you to speak openly so that you can get the help that you need. And sometimes it's not always a matter of, I need help with something. Healthy habits create healthy lifestyle. It's better to go and talk things out and get things worked out and figured it out before you need the help. It's always good to have money in the bank before you need it. It's hurtful when you have a situation where you need something that you don't have. And we're resourceful people, so we find a way even when there's no way at all. Our faith allows us to do that, and just our willingness to not take no for an answer. However, it is so much better when you've prepared yourself, and again, having healthy conversations before you're in a situation where you need a therapist or you need therapy. Again, you're training yourself, you're training your brain to be, have a little more healthy success along the way. That makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's how we grow and that's how we learn. We have to learn from those mistakes that we make. We fall down, we get back up, we brush ourselves off, we keep it pushing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit more about any projects or initiatives that you're passionate about that positively impacts the Black community at all?
Absolutely. So tomorrow I have an event that I'm going to be speaking at, and this event is hosted by Dr. Tim Abrams
Hmm.
and the Chief of Police for the South Fulton area.
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe Fannie Willis is going to be there as well.
Hmm.
And this is going to be an event geared towards the younger generation and the sports program with the Police Athletic League and trying to help curb some of the violence. So that's one of the most current things that I have going on. The 4 Men and a Pen platform, that's the next thing that I'm working on right now. That's in continuous rotation because my goal is to create enough interest, create enough desire, enough education and information that I can start trying to make changes, starting with the communities that are closest to us first, and then eventually work your way outwards.
Yeah.
There's programs that we are lacking back in the Virgin Island. A
Mm.
lot of the resources are available in the States, but they're
Mm.
not available to us.
Sure.
So most information, and I'm sure you've heard this saying before, if you want to hide something from Black people, put it in a book because they
Yeah.
claim we don't read.
Right.
So educating ourselves on what is available, knowing what power we have as people, and using the resources, networking, being able to get out here and put in the work instead of just talking the talk, get out
Yeah.
here and put in the work with the community, work with the children,
Yeah.
give back.
Yeah.
So I'm all about doing the work.
Yeah. It's important, and I'm happy, and it something my pastor always says: "It's a cinch by the inch, it's just hard by the yard," and it just simply put, man, every little bit that you're doing, it makes a difference. Every little bit that I'm doing, it makes a difference, and we just got to keep doing it. I'm not one that likes to dwell on problems as much as I like to dwell on the solution.
Absolutely.
Problems are easy to identify. You know, they exist everywhere. How we gonna fix it? What we gonna do about it? What can I do to make the change? Not looking across the table and pointing the finger or trying to put it off on somebody else. But it starts with me. It starts with you and I. Whatever little bit we can do, and sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it doesn't. The little bit doesn't require, or the little bit of change that's necessary, or the lot of change that's necessary. Sometimes it starts with something real small that may seem insignificant, but from that, you get a snowball. From that, you get some momentum. From that, you encourage somebody else to do something that, oh, I didn't think about doing that, or I didn't think that I could do it, but I see you doing it, and now I have a little bit of hope. I have a little bit more belief that it can be done because I see somebody that looks like me, sounds like me, they're doing it, so maybe I can do it as well. Yeah, it's extremely important. Before we leave today, I want you to, if you had some advice to give to some of these high school graduates, college graduates, those that are, and I have both this year. I have a young man that's graduated high school and he's entering college this year, as well as another young man, my oldest, who is just graduating from college. And so these are very pivotal times, I think, in a young man's life, or young person's life, period, male or female, where when you're making those transitions, there's some things that you wish you had known. And then there's some things that even if somebody told you, you probably you wouldn't have known until you had the experience. But can you speak to those two audiences and just in your through your experience? And I know yours is a little bit different, slightly based upon where you've come from and how you transition. But what would you say, even to your younger self? I'll make it a third audience. Could have told yourself when you were making those transitions that you think may have helped you in your journey.
Absolutely. I have a few things to add to that. First and foremost, I would say live your life with as little regrets as possible
Yeah.
without hurting anyone in the process.
Yeah. That's
There's
good.
nothing worse than living your life, looking back and having regrets of things that you should have accomplished or things you should have tried, or you had fear of failure and you never stepped out on those possibilities. The
Absolutely.
greatest inventions and the greatest movements, you look at the dreams that people started from a dream, from a thought, and where they've gotten to at that point.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing. The second thing would be in reference to the conversation that my son and I had in the backyard. You have to know what your mission is.
Yeah.
You will not be able to accomplish it if you don't know what your mission is.
Yeah.
So the best way, in my opinion, for somebody to figure out what the mission is figure out what your passion is. Find out what someone would be willing to pay you millions of dollars to do, but you would still do it for free.
Yeah.
Even if somebody's willing to pay you, that would be whatever your passion is.
That's good.
My third thing would be seek knowledge of yourself and knowledge of the world that you're living in. You have so many people that are closed-minded and they're ignorant to other cultures outside of their own.
True.
If you live your life confined to only what you see, instead of thinking outside the box and being open to other cultures and other experiences, you're going to live a life of fear. You're going to live a life of ignorance, and you're going to short yourself out.
Yeah.
So please be open to new experiences, new cultures. Ignorance just breeds fear.
Yes.
And that is only because of lack of knowledge of something. I personally never liked snakes. I was afraid of snakes. I had no idea that there was a such thing as a good snake because of my own ignorance.
Yeah.
The only good snake was a bad snake, and I felt racist for feeling that way.
Yeah.
But once I started educating myself and having knowledge and information what the purpose of these other snakes were, then it took away that fear. So please educate yourself on whatever it is that you're going to get yourself into before it's too late.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great advice. Great advice. I thank you for lending your voice again to the show. And definitely I know there's, based upon the work that you're doing, based upon the work that I'm doing, we're definitely gonna have to, get in the mud together. I definitely, whatever I can do to help from on my end, whatever it is. And I need to get, back to Georgia as well to do whatever, and vice versa. I definitely lend my support, and man, let's just keep doing the work.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to being on your show again if you'll have me.
Absolutely. You definitely gonna have you back. Definitely want to be able to provide an opportunity for 4 Men in the Pen as well. Well, as you know, before we go, we got to do the fun facts off the dome, and got a few questions to ask you. I don't think
What you got?
I don't think I asked you this before. Are you a pancakes or waffle guy?
Waffles.
Are you more lemons?
Early mornings.
Favorite superhero, if you have one?
Wow. I've never actually thought of that. So off the dome, I would say, I would have to say Batman because he's accomplishing the most with no powers.
Right. Last book you read?
The Art of War.
Nice. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Butter pecan.
Man, yeah, I think that's grown folks. That's a grown folks ice cream.
I'm a little bit on the fence about that one though, Mike. See, my problem with that is I don't know if butter pecan was really my favorite ice cream, or is that the only ice cream that my mom bought? So because that's the only ice cream she bought, that's all I got to eat. So we developed a flavor for it. So I'm not really sure, but we're gonna stick with that one for now. Since you just called me old as dirt.
Nah. Well, I'm old too because that's one of my favorites. But butter pecan, praline pecan, yeah, it hit a little different.
Yep, it sure do, bro. It sure do.
What are you, sunrise or sunset?
I prefer sunrise. I'm all about the new beginnings. To me, sunsets are the death of all about life.
Yeah.
Promoting life, promoting new change, all about a sunrise.
Love it. Your best season of the year?
Ooh, spring.
Nice. Last question. If you had a time machine but could only make one trip, where and when would you go?
I would go back to my former self before I decided to be grown and start running around having children, before I knew what it was to be a man. So
Yeah,
that way I would have been a better man sooner instead
yeah,
of having to work so hard later.
definitely, definitely. Love it. Love your answers. Love your energy, and definitely want to have you back. Before we go, can you tell people where they can again reach out to you and contact you if they had questions or they want to get involved in any of the events and or programs or things that you're doing?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me on my Facebook page at Chris Gertie or Chris Gertie / Choi Kwando. You also can reach me at Bridgepoint Media through my manager, Lady LaDonna. We have, I think she has all of the information up on both of the websites on my Facebook pages as well.
Great.
And also, they can also feel free to reach out and contact me through podcasting through your website as well.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, again, happy to have you. We'll be happy to have you back, and let's keep doing the work.
Thank you for having me, sir. Much love
Thank
and
you.
respect.
Absolutely. Blessings on you. Well, let's end with, once again, Mike's moments of motivation. Today being Juneteenth, I seen this posted, and I just want to share it with you. On Juneteenth, remember, dream like Martin, lead like Harriet, fight like Malcolm, write like Maya, speak like Frederick, dare like Shirley, think like Garvey, reclaim like Maxine, educate like W.E.B., challenge like Rosa, inspire like Obama, and win like Kamala. But do it by being you. Be free. Be you. Signing off, please follow us at The Black Male Podcast and on Facebook and IG, or contact us at The Black Male Podcast at gmail.com. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of The Black Male Podcast. We hope today's stories and discussions have inspired you. Remember, our journey together does not end here. Stay connected. Connect with us on our social media platforms. YouTube is coming soon. Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and remember, we're in this together. I'm Mike Sears, and it's been a pleasure. Take care, stay safe, and until next time, until the next episode of the Black Male Podcast, don't forget, before you go back, fade to black. Peace.